everyone, I'm Renee and welcome to my channel. Today I have a Shopkins cake for you. The last Shopkins cake I did, ice cream cake, was so popular that I thought you might like to see another. I thought since it's so cold and frigid here in New England right now, this woolly hat character would be perfect. She's from season 4. Stay tuned and I'll show you how I made her. I've started by trimming my cake circle just a little bit smaller than my bottom cake. I'm using just a little bit of buttercream to attach my bottom cake to the cake board. I'm using my chocolate cake recipe, which I will have linked down below for you, or you can find that recipe by clicking the little eye up in the corner. I baked off 2 6-inch rounds by 2 inches tall, as well as 1 5-inch round by 2 inches tall. And I'm going to fill these layers and then ice later with my American style buttercream. I'll have that recipe linked below as well for you. And in this case, I have tinted it a nice light shade of a bright pink, which will be perfect for our woolly hat character. The top cake is the 5-inch round, which will give us this beginning of the nice dome shape we'll need. What would be perfect for this cake is one of those doll cake pans, and since I don't have one of those, I'm going to carve these cakes into a dome shape to give us the shape of the hat. Once the cake was carved, I made sure to crumb coat my cake. With all those cut edges and exposed cake, I wanted to make sure to lock in any of those crumbs. Then once the crumb coat has had a chance to set up, I'm going to ice the entire cake with a generous coat of buttercream. Then I'm going to smooth my cake, first using a little scraper I made out of a flexible cutting mat. And then I'm going to go over that with my paper towel and just rubbing it with my hand so that my entire cake has a nice, perfectly smooth finish. The woolly hat character is sitting on his feet, so to create that I made a little platform by taping together 3 4-inch cake circles, and then I'm just going to coat these with some shortening. Then I covered this piece with a layer of my light blue fondant that I'm using for a lot of the decorative details on this cake. To make his feet and to widen this little platform a little bit, because it's not quite as wide as I wanted, I rolled a skinny rope of the light blue fondant, leaving the ends a little bit thicker because this will be the fondant for the feet detail, making sure that it wraps entirely around the disc, and then I'm going to attach it with a little bit of water. I somehow managed to stretch this piece out a little bit, but no problem. I'm just going to stick the wider ends together in the front, and then I'll just trim the extra fondant from the back and make a nice neat seam. Using my cell pin, I then made a little indent on the end of the thicker part so that this would kind of make the shape of the feet and differentiate it from the rest of that rope. I attached the little platform to my cake stand with some buttercream, and then using a little more buttercream, I'm going to attach the cake right on top of this. To make the blue detail at the bottom edge of the hat, I'm rolling out a fairly thick log of that light blue fondant. Once I've got it rolled out a little bit, I'm flattening it slightly with my fingertips. This will make it easier to roll later, and I want to make sure that it's the thickness of about 1/3 of the way up the cake, so I'm just using my fingertips to eyeball it to make sure I have the appropriate thickness. Then using a small rolling pin, I'm just going to make sure that it is wide enough, and then I'm going to roll this out to about 1/4 of an inch thick and make sure that it is long enough to go all the way around the cake. Then using my cell pen and a couple of different sizes of ball tools, I'm going to make marks to give this piece of fondant some texture. My buttercream is a crusting buttercream, so I'm using a little bit of water to moisten it, and then I'm going to attach this starting in the back and just wrap it all the way around the cake. I overlap the ends at the back of the cake and cut through both pieces in a straight line with my X-Acto knife to create a nice, straight, and neat seam. There are just a few details left. One of them is the pom-pom on the top of the cake. So I have a ball of fondant here, and I'm going to do the same method for texturizing it as I did for the band on the cake, just poking some holes into it and then making some marks with the ball tools. And because this is a heavier decoration, I'm inserting a toothpick. I'll let this dry and set up for a little bit, and the toothpick will help us attach it to the cake so it doesn't roll off. Now I'm shaping two little arms or hands for the cake. I made a thick log and then I'm tapering it just in the middle. Then cut that in half, and these are going to be the little hands for either side of the face. For the eyes, I rolled out a little rope of black fondant. It was a little bit too long, so I folded it in half, and I'm using my X-Acto knife to make two equally sized logs, each of which I will taper one end and then slightly flatten to make the closed eye shape of the Shopkins, and then curve the thinner part downward. I did this for both pieces so that I have two equally shaped eyes. I also made the eyelashes for each eye by just shaping two little teardrop shapes, and those will be placed on the top outer edge of each eye. I rolled a really skinny rope of the black fondant, and I'm cutting off two little pieces that I'll set aside for a minute, trimming it to a shorter length, and then this is going to be formed into a squiggly line because Woolly Hat has a really cold and unhappy looking expression on her face. Then those little pieces that we set aside are formed into a slight curve and set on either side of the line to complete the mouth. Then using a little bit of water, I attached all of these face pieces, starting with the eyes placed about the middle of that blue band so that the rest of the face would have the proper placement. I ended up not liking the size or original placement of the mouth that I made, so I did remove it. I cleaned up any black marks on the blue fondant with a little bit of vodka, made a smaller one and placed it a little bit lower, and then I'm going to continue to add the small little pieces to the outer corners of the mouth. I think this looks a lot better for the scale of the cake. One last little detail for the face is a little ball of the blue fondant set right between the eyes for a cute little nose. Then I'm attaching those arms or hands right at the bottom of the cake on either side of the face. I used water to make the fondant tacky, and I attached the tapered end of the little arms up under the cake using a tool to push it up under there because I couldn't reach my fingers under. I used a little bit of water on the top of the cake to make the buttercream a little moistened and inserted the pom-pom right at the center. Now all that's left to do is make the snowflake decoration for Woolly Hat's hat or head. I don't know, but I'm using this strip cutter by FMM. It's a really handy little tool that makes about a half dozen of these little strips, all the same size. They come in different widths, but this one is, I think, the number 3. It's about 1/4 inch. I'll have it linked down below along with all the rest of the supplies and recipes used in this video. So I'm going to cut several of these strips. You could also use a large snowflake cutter, but I don't have one of those, so I'm improvising and making my own snowflake shape. Then I used a little bit of water to attach different lengths of those strips to the cake to form a snowflake pattern. And that's it. I think Shopkins are so cute, and I'm so excited with how this woolly hat figure came out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And here are a couple of my other videos you might enjoy if you like this video.